What's going on, guys? Today we're taking a look at the PlayStation Classic. This is not a good product, and it's a shame because it's coming from Sony, and myself, along with plenty of other people, were really hoping that Sony would have done a great job with this system, because of course then it obviously adds some competition to the marketplace when it comes to plug-and-play consoles, which at this time anyway, Nintendo is pretty much dominating, which we'll see what Sega comes up with now that they've kind of kicked at games to the curb a bit at the beginning of next year. But this product has had a rough buildup. We've started to learn more and more about this product as it's gotten closer to launch. The PAL game situation, the lackluster lineup of games, it's not been a good build-up to the release date today. It's a $100 system, so this would cost you $100 if you walked in the store, and I find that it is pretty much a waste of money because not only are the games on here, again, lackluster, they don't even run that well, which is very, very weird. The system itself is also bare bones, so what I'm going to do here is we're going to actually go around and take a look at some of the features, very minor features in this system, and I'll talk about some of the stuff I like. So let me talk about that real quick. I like the controller. The controller is cool. It does mimic the original PlayStation controller very well, but I would definitely prefer the DualShock because it has rumble and it has analog sticks. They do give you two controllers as well, which is good. And the system itself, from a build quality perspective, is actually built well, although the, I guess, longevity and the durability of the system is still up for debate, as Max Dreamcast guy actually had his damaged and it doesn't work anymore. So it's very possible that these could be sketchy anyway. We'll have to see as we play it more and more time kind of happens. Now, the other thing that's pretty cool about the system that I like is that they did include the PlayStation startup sound and animation. It's exactly like I remember it back then, and it's still awesome. So I'm really happy with that. Now, let me talk about some of the things that you get when you get this. So we have guides, which means that if you want, you can scan the QR code or go to that website and you can check out different things about the system. I remember the Nintendo Classic, Super Nintendo Classic did something similar when it came to game manuals. They kind of did the same thing where they had a website set up. You could scan the QR code and you could then go to that location and check out the different guides. Settings, very bare bones. They have a screensaver that you can turn on. They have language support for a bunch of different languages, so they at least have a lot of people in mind, I guess, for this, or they just wanted to distribute most of the same one everywhere, which is probably mostly the case, except Japan's PlayStation Classic is way better than this one, just based on the games they have. You can initialize the console, I guess, if you're looking to sell it or trade it in or do something with it. You can restore the default settings, and they have a legal notice that I believe also goes over the open source software. So there you go. It is using an open source emulator, which has been a weird situation. I was almost positive Sony would have come to the table with a better emulator, one that they created. Not the case. They used an open source one, which is why we have a lot of issues with emulation. And that's it. Those are like all the features. There's no filter settings, which is the biggest downer, because if they had filter settings, these games probably would have looked a lot better, as it does put out a 720p image, which is fine because I wasn't expecting miracles when it came to the PlayStation Classic. Their PlayStation 1 games, they're not going to look amazing on any screen, but if they could have at least added filters and smoothing, which is what the PlayStation 3 can do, or if they're able to kind of dive into what emulators have been able to do already, which make these games look way better just on emulators you can play on your computer, I'm speechless as to how poor and how featureless this entire system is. Now, the range of games is weird. Like, Siphon Filter 1 is here, but not 2. I don't get that one. Tekken 3 makes sense. That is probably the best Tekken on the PlayStation 1, so it makes sense to me. I like Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo. That's a good pick. I don't know why I guess Ridge Racer Type 4, but Gran Turismo would have been better. There's probably just licensing issues there. Persona 1, okay, I guess. Atlas probably gave that up pretty easily. Resident Evil Director's Cut, Resident Evil 2 would have been better, but of course that's going to be sold as the new one going into next year, and Capcom probably wanted all of the Resident Evil 2 talk to be on their game. Rayman plays well. I like playing it. That's a fun one. Oddworld is good. Mr. Driller is fun. Metal Gear Solid works, but no dual analog sticks. From what I remember playing this with the DualShock back in the day, and it played pretty well with that. it was weird playing with this one, I will admit, as opposed to the DualShock. So it at least works. It's a way you can experience the game. Is it the best way? Maybe not. Something I did like is that on the back of the box, they put Meryl's codec there, the number, which you would normally have to look on the back of the CD case to see it. So that was kind of neat. But also while I was on the back of the box, I noticed some oddities here. Whereas at the bottom, if you look, they have a rating of mature rated. But then to the left of that, seriously, a couple of inches, not even, it actually says this whole system is recommended for kids 6 and up. So I don't really know what happened there. That's another thing I look at and I go, did like 8 different people design the box and everything else? Because it's almost like it was just conflicting all the way around, whether it's the emulation, the box art, everything. It's just, none of it makes any sense. Intelligent Cube, Final Fantasy 7, that's a good one. Although the music sounds kind of funny, and what a lot of people are saying, the battle animations, Digital Foundry did something on that. So let me get into, let's do Tekken. Tekken 3 is, to me, the most obvious issue. Let's get the little logo here. Here we go. So they have all the sounds and everything. They also come up with the piracy, harms consumers, and all of that. Let's get into arcade mode. Sure, that'll work. I'm not the biggest Tekken person, but it's supposed to run at 60 frames or 60 hertz. It's running at 50 hertz here because it's using the PAL version for whatever reason. And it's weird because it's hard to describe. I think it's something you have to play. But it does feel odd. Like, I don't know, it's weird. It feels different than what I remember. I remember playing Tekken 1, and I believe Tekken 2 until they went to the PS2, and then I played it there. But it does feel strange, I guess is the best way to describe it. It's not the best representation of Tekken at all. Think about it this way. It's a fighting game that's supposed to be running at 60 frames, but it's running at 50 frames with weird frame pacing issues because it's off. It's like 10 frames off at all times. It's very odd, and I don't get why they want the PAL version. Maybe somebody will figure it out. Maybe there'll be an explanation at some point. It's weird. It's a plug and play system. I would like to see a documentary on as to how this happened. Because when I think of Sony, I think of quality. To a degree. Like, their TVs, their high-end TVs are nice. Their cameras are nice. Again, all quality stuff. Their PlayStation 4 at the time, when it came out, compared to the Xbox One, it was stronger. It played games better, higher resolution. And then it was $100 cheaper, but it was also a higher quality system when you went internally to it. Whereas now the Xbox One X is technically a better quality system. But at the time, that was it, and it's... I don't know how Sony got it so wrong, and Nintendo got it so right twice in a row with the Nintendo Classic and the Super Nintendo Classic. It's not even just down to, like, the system. It's down to, like, the emulation, the features. I think the biggest issue that I can tell is that it just feels rushed. And it's $100. It's like, it's not even like it's like $60 or something. They're like, oh yeah, we'll throw it out there for cheap. No, it's $100. So I don't know what is going on here, and I don't know if Sony's even gonna make a statement, because online they seem like everything's good with it. It's like, all right. The good news is, the one good thing here is it does appear that this is going to be hacked soon. Now, I am judging this based on the product that Sony gave us as consumers, but I do want to at least put that out there. Let me jump over to another game. Let me see what we'll figure out here. I do have to hit the reset button, which you'll see here, and it's going to kick me back to there we go. And it'll even ask if I want to if I want to replace the existing resume point because there's just one save state. I'm just going to say no, it doesn't matter. Here's a good joke. Rainbow Six. Rainbow Six makes no sense on the system at all. This was a bad game. If you really go back and play it, it has not aged well at all. And I'm going to show you that because I'm going to attempt to play it with this controller. Okay, so I'm in the game, and you'll notice we don't have two analog sticks, of course, so you use the D-pad to look left and right and go forward and backwards, and then it relies on you to use the R1 and R2 to look up and down. So if that sounds disorienting, it's because it is. And at that point, you also, if you want to strafe, you have to hold circle to strafe. And it is very difficult. I remember when I first started this up, I was like, let me go through the training mission to see. And just getting through the training mission is difficult. It's something else, is what I'll say. If you want to try this out, go for it, because it is not easy how to actually navigate this entire thing. Oh, I'm in. All right. To navigate this. I'm doing my... Oh, and I'm down. Well, that went about how I expected. I was happy to see Metal Gear Solid on here. We're going to fire that up right now. Actually, this is loading up from a previous save state where I'm right at the beginning of the game, basically. I went through the first room, waited for the elevator, and here I am running around. This, again, I wasn't expecting miracles. You know, I mean, it's Metal Gear Solid. You can only do so much with a PS1 game. But just to have... Oh, there's a guy there. Just to have some kind of smoothing, filters even that would work, scan lines, just anything you can do to make it look a bit better on a widescreen or just a flat screen monitor in general. I'm playing on a 4K monitor, and it doesn't do that well. And I think they could have made it do better, and that's kind of where I'm most annoyed, is that I see potential with this thing, and I just think they could have done a better job. That's all. That's all. If they could have done a better job, I think this would have been well worth the money. If they could have come up with a better library, or at least just make the library here work better, that would have been awesome, but no. To change discs, there's actually, you just hit the open button, and it's supposed to just be able to change discs. I'm curious about the Psycho Mantis fight in this one, considering you're supposed to change your controller around, you're supposed to have him read your memory card. There's a lot of stuff that they did with that fight, and I really would like to see... I guess just see how it works with this version of it. So this is the first time I booted up Final Fantasy VII. I was saving that just so we could see the cutscene, because the cutscene generally looks pretty blurry if you hook a PlayStation 1 up, obviously, to a flat screen. And I'm not really expecting a lot here either, but it'll also give me a chance to talk, I guess, just a bit further about the system. The system is $100, like I said. It's clearly rushed to try to make it to the holidays, and it did. It's out in time for the giving season, when people are going to be out buying stuff, and they're going to see this, and I think it's going to sell well just because we're in the Christmas season. And I think that's kind of a shame, because this is certainly not Sony's best effort. They could have done way better. I have no idea why PS1 games run better on the PSP, which in terms of processing power, RAM, everything is inferior to this product. I have no idea why the Vita runs these things better. Again, inferior to this product. The PlayStation 3, at least, okay, I get that, but even that is trounced by the amount of RAM, for example, in this thing. It's not as powerful, obviously, from a processing side, but still, this system, from a hardware perspective, is capable of running these games. It just comes down to the emulation, and I'm concerned that Sony was just rushing this thing and grabbed an open source emulator rather than develop their own in-house one, which they've been using their own emulator for a while now with... I always liked that logo, by the way, when it flashed on screen. You can see a lot of artifacting and stuff. Yeah, I mean, again, it's a blown-up picture, and I get that. Smoothing and stuff would have been cool, but these are cinematics, and I get that that's kind of tough to get that all figured out. But I think when I look at this, they grabbed the open source emulator. They have an in-house one. I don't know why all this happened, but it'll be fascinating to see if anything comes out about the system in terms of development, or just something as to why this happened. This doesn't feel like a product from Sony. I'm going to be kind of harsh here. It feels like a product from @Games, and that is probably the biggest insult I could give to this PlayStation Classic. But that's going to do it here, guys. I don't recommend buying this. Maybe the hacking scene will take over and it'll become a cool piece of hardware. I wouldn't buy it. Honestly, for $100, you could buy a PS3, which, by the way, will play every PS1 game. Like, if you have it physically, you just pop it in. You could buy a PS3, you could buy Metal Gear Solid, and you could probably still save a little bit of money with that, and you would have an infinitely better experience. But let me know what you guys think about the PlayStation Classic. Maybe you bought it, maybe you like it. I think it's fine if you like it. I look at this as one of Sony's worst efforts, and I understand why everyone, including myself, is massively disappointing. This is a bigger disappointment, like I said, than Fallout 76 and Metal Gear Survive, and those both came out this year, so think about that as well. This is the biggest disappointment of the year, despite those games coming out before it. Thanks, guys, for watching. Make sure you give the video a like if you liked it, dislike it if not, and I'll see you in the next video.